Okay. That looks good. Right in through there. Made the adjustments over here. And that's because they didn't get all this stuff lined up. That's the beauty of the sand. You put sand in these joints. And I'll do that after I get done with the whole floor. But as you know, we're just doing a mock setup on here to see how well this is going to line up. And I also want to take into consideration, I knew that when I floated the floor over here for the water and floated this down and floated over here and over here, that I might have some tiles that teeter-tottered. And I was thinking this one was going to teeter-totter and maybe this one over here, but these are actually, well, yeah, see, it's a little bit. And then also I noticed this one. That's because we floated this out and we have a high edge right there. Okay. And let's see if this one, yep, sure enough. This one does, and this one here does. So I'm going to have to be aware of that. So when I go to install all of these, I'm going to have to put some shims in it. I'm going to have to be aware of that. So when I put these in, I may have to mash down a few of those plastic little cups in this area, or I may have to take some little plastic shims, and I have some plastic shims, and I'll have to decide, you know, where to put those so that when I put the tile back down, it sets nice and flat and doesn't do this wonky business. Because you get something like that after the fact, once I have all this flashing in, it's going to be very, very difficult to pull just one of these tiles up because it's almost 2 inches thick. You have to pull it basically straight up because I'm going to have flashing over there sticking up. I'm going to have flashing over there. So it's like, how on earth, if one of these tiles gets a little bouncy, teeter-tottery, how are you going to pull it up? And I'm just hoping I don't run into that, because that's going to be tricky without marking up another tile. You're going to have to take it out with some putty knives and bend them and try to go up a little bit, up a little bit, up a little bit, up a little bit. It's going to be tricky because you can't really teeter-totter it. You can't just pull one side up either because it's 2 inches, almost 2 inches thick. So as you're pulling it up, the back side of the tile is going to hit as you're lifting it up. So you almost have to lift the entire tile straight up. Well, if I ever did anything like that, I probably have to take this last tile right here and try to pull this tile up. If I got that tile, then I could pull up another one, another one, another one, get to the one that's teetering, and then fix that one, and then drop the tiles back down. That's what I would have to do. And if I had a grinder, I could grind the bottom edge. I could grind the bottom edge at a 45-degree angle, maybe from the bottom up about 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, so that if I try to wedge this one up, the bottom wouldn't be hitting. So I could then try to wedge it and tilt it straight up out of there. But I don't have I may not have to get a grinder. I was thinking I was going to have to get a grinder. But see, I may not have to, because all of the existing tiles were fitting before. They should all fit again. Mind you, I've reframed this column, tried to match the existing conditions. I put some new plywood around that. I had to patch some areas, and on certain areas, see, I still have to put roofing material on the floor. Boom, boom. And I've got to get this tile back in. So see, that's gonna bump it slightly out, not very much. I'm gonna have to take note of that. I may have I may have to swivel that over that much further, you know, another 3/16 or so, which then means I'm going to have to jockey other things. And if so, I've got the room underneath here. If I had to push the tile that way, I can, ever so slightly. Okay, so if I did that, that means this edge is going to kind of move out a little bit too. So my next thing is I've got to figure out this flashing on exactly where I want to put the flashing. I don't want to make the flashing 100% tight, because if I have to do any adjustments, you know, I want to be able to adjust and see how much gap there is right there along there. See, I want to make sure it's not 100% tight, so if I do have to slightly wiggle some tiles back and forth, I can see here that this one's not perfectly straight, and there's a little bit of room in there, so I've got to remember that. Okay, so I think what I'm going to do now is I'm going to get the angled flashing, and I'm going to push it in there and see exactly where I want that. That was the whole idea about putting this tile in. Do you remember that? And I'm glad I'm putting this tile in, because it gives me an idea of how tight to patch the roofing material down on the floor. Lets me know that I can in fact do this stucco patch first and get that all taken care of before I put the tile back down, because now I know I've got just enough room to do that. After I do the stucco patch, I know that this is going to have to push in nice and tight to that stucco, huh? And if I had to slide everything to the left, I could slightly. See, I've got a little bit of a gap between the tile and the wall, and I'm looking over there. I've got a little bit over there, but see, if I push that to the left, see, I can push it a little bit because the flashing goes all the way out there, so I know I got about a 1/2 inch of gap, and see there, I got about a 1/2 inch of gap too right there by the time I put that flashing in there. See, so I'm good with that. So now I'm going to go get the flashing and try to wedge it in there and decide how I want that to line up. It's like, if this is the only thing I get done today, figuring out exactly where this flashing goes and then moving the tiles back and stuff, I've actually had a good day, because I really wanted to get this done right, because if I did it wrong, I'd have to cut the tiles, and I don't have a cutter, and I didn't want to have to cut anything, and so plus we figured out some other stuff with these tiles, didn't we? See, this piece is that flat piece. This is going to go facing down, and then this one goes in there facing up, and here's the holes that I have drilled for that. First things first, I'm going to wedge this first one up in there with these tiles. These tiles in my way now too, huh? Am I going to have to pull some of these tiles up? I might have to. I'm thinking this goes, yeah, that goes in that way. I may have to pull this tile up. Wow. see how can I do that. What's the deal? This should just pop right up. I've got it wedged in there ever so slight. To where it's not